One of the forces we have that enhances faith is the power of perception. Perception is the way you look at yourself. Perception is the image that you formulate in your mind, especially during a crisis. Perception is so important because it will help you out and energize your faith when you are faced with a crisis. Perception is the power that will give you success when you are in a crisis, when there is a threat of fear. In the book of Numbers 13 and verse 13, we have a story of the children of Israel that have been sent out to spy out the land, and they bring back a report. And they say that they looked like grasshoppers in front of the enemy, in front of the giants. They perceived themselves that they were grasshoppers. Now, positive perception is when you look at what the Word of God says about you and you think about it, talk about it. It will energize your faith and you will form the image that, well, with God, I can be able to do it. Now, two young men, Joshua and Caleb, they had a different perception. The 10 spies had a negative perception, but Joshua and Caleb had a positive perception that if God says it, then we are able to do it, and we can take a step of faith, and God will back our faith. Now, the Word of God says those are the only two people that were able to enter the Canaan land because they had a positive perception. They knew what the Word of God says about them. They believed it, they imagined it, they perceived it. So for 40 days, when they went around the land of Canaan, they were having an opportunity to perceive. So 10 of them perceived negative, but 2 of them perceived positive. In the book of Judges, we have a story of a judge by the name of Gideon. Gideon came from a poor family. He came from a poor clan, the least in Israel. But God chose him, and God called him a mighty man of valor. At some point, he did not perceive himself to be mighty. But when God says you are mighty, He wants you to change your thinking and begin to see yourself as mighty, because you are what the Word of God says you are. So the angel comes and says, mighty man of valor. And Gideon had a negative perception because of his limitation. He had a poor background. He had low esteem because of the ethnicity. His clan was the least. But the angel told him, you can do it. So he had to rise up to the level where he sees himself the way God sees him. Faith requires positive perception. The Word of God says you're a son of God. The Word of God says you are holy. Paul says that I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So the mind is the place that you begin to imagine the possibilities that God has given you. And then you speak it. You meditate on the Word of God. And when you think like God thinks about you, then God will give you faith and give you breakthrough. As you go through this week, as you go through the challenges of life, nothing is easy. But you can look at the Word of God and know that if God says it, you are able to handle it. You can do it. You can rise up by faith and handle it. God bless you so much. Have a powerful, successful week. Bye-bye.